I was working on a ranch then. I followed Japanese military and returned when Japan surrendered. That was when the Kuomintang recovered Taiwan and the Japanese left.
How
do I explain it? First of all, we went to the military because we could earn money. Secondly, we could get education.
We joined
the military to get education. There were no wars in Taiwan then, but when I got to the mainland, I realized I was cheated. In Taiwan I didn't know, but in China I knew we were all lied to. Did they tell us they were going into war? No. We marched with full equipment and saw military compounds. When we got to the farming village, the bullets kept coming, shoo, shoo, shoo like that. Oh, I realized that this place was full of enemies, but I didn't get to see them, and I did not know who they were.
The surrender of Japan in August 1945 brought World War II to a close. The Japanese expatriates and captives were all sent back. In October, the Kuomintang dispatched troops from China to take over control of the island and celebrated the Retrocession Day. In May of 1946, the 17th Army Corps, 62nd Army Corps, and 95th Brigade stationed in Taiwan were ordered to be reorganized. The army started recruiting soldiers in the name of protecting and honoring the country. The KMT army also recruited members from Adulan community in eastern Taiwan, promising them education and job opportunities. Some 80 indigenous people joined the army, but most of them never returned home.
After the Kuomintang first came to Taiwan, shortly after Retrocession, they recruited soldiers everywhere. We teenagers in Adulan community were cheated. They lied to us.
They told us we were Taiwanese youngsters, and youngsters had to join the military for 2 years and learn the culture, learn the language, and after 2 years of military they would arrange jobs for us. That's what they said.
Among the 80 Adulan community members who were deceived into fighting in the Chinese mainland, about 60 had died. Only 11 of them survived. The Kuomintang told these soldiers not to surrender, but in order to survive, they reluctantly joined the communist troops.
The Kuomintang told us that those communists were bandits who would dig out our eyes and cut out our tongues, noses, and ears if we were caught. That's what they said. But the truth is, after we were captured, we were treated better than we were with the Kuomintang. What is it like to survive? You follow people. Their people were everywhere. They were in front of us and behind us. So how could you run away? So you could only follow them. To put it simply, it was all for survival.
After the nationalist communist civil war, the 11 Adulan soldiers were regrouped into the People's Liberation Army to fight other battles. Ngaya was sent to North Korea to fight against South Korea during the Korean War.
In Korea was another 4 years of war. After the ceasefire, I thought I would return. What was my thought at the time? I thought I would probably be sacrificed in the Korean War.
It wasn't until 1994, after China adopted liberalized policies, that the 11 Ajulan community finally returned home with their Chinese wives, back to home where they earned for decades, only to find out that their parents had passed away, and the government had seized their land and houses. They have to rent houses for the rest of their lives. I only knew that my husband was a Taiwanese and didn't know how he got into war. I heard them talking about how they were snatched and sent to the battleground when they were studying school. After the war ended, they were not able to come back, although some of the KMT troops were able to. They were left behind there.
The Kuomintang sent us to the mainland to fight for Taiwan. We should have been compensated. We have made such requests. I return, but I have nothing. No land, no houses, nothing. At least 10,000 NT dollars for all these.
Migangan's father, Lu Fu, an Amis from Hualien's Changbin Township, was also deceived by the Kuomintang. During the war, he discovered he was fighting against his own people. Knowing he was cheated, Lu Fu later changed his name to Zhang Mingliang, which in Chinese name means bright and clear.
We indigenous people, why did we find the mainland? We were used by the Han Chinese. We were sacrificed. So my dad thought, silly me, my eyes are finally open and brighter. So he renamed himself Zhang Mingliang, which means clear and bright. The new name means he finally understood. This is his Japanese name. He used to be called Hirota Ichiro. This is a photo of him as a KMT soldier. He was known as Zhang Mingliang in the mainland. So you see on the identification card, it's Zhang Mingliang. And also his tribe's name, China, did not recognize Taiwan indigenous. They call all the indigenous in Taiwan the mountain people. But my dad refused to accept the identity, insisting that he is an Ame from Taiwan.
When Zhang Mingliang came back to Taiwan, the government said he cannot use this name. Therefore, he renamed himself Zhang Chaofu. During his life, Zhang Chaofu had changed his name 7 times. By the time he returned to his birthplace in Changbin Township, his parents had passed away, and he was listed as deceased in the domicile record. He had to go to the court to reinstate himself.
What did he do? He had to bring the case to court, telling them he was still alive, so why the domicile report registered him as a deceased person. In the end, the court revoked the death registration.
Zhang Chaofu only won the battle to reinstate his name. He's not offered the same benefits as other war veterans from the mainland. He is not eligible to live in the military dependence village, nor eligible to any compensation schemes offered by the government. He has protested the unfair treatment to the Ministry of National Defense, but was given only a status as similar to veteran soldiers.
When they returned, no one took notice of them. In the end, he protested to the Ministry of National Defense and was given a status similar to veteran soldiers. It says similar to. You are similar to, but hey, you are not a veteran. You don't necessarily have the benefits the veteran soldiers have. It's like that. So he was marginalized, really marginalized.
To reward soldiers for their military service, Kuomintang had promised them a comfortable retirement. In 1957, the Kuomintang held a ceremony in Yilan to reward land to veteran soldiers. Then Provincial Governor Zhou Zhirou presented the awards and congratulated the veterans for having their own farmland. However, the native Taiwanese war veterans were left out.
I feel like I did not leave anything behind for my descendants. Why do I say this? When they ask, Dad, why did you join the military? I don't know how to answer. How do they treat me as a war veteran? What is this status? Similar to a veteran. I have 2 requests. One is to give back the dignity of being a soldier. The other is for the government to have some kind of goodwill gesture. This is only fair.
Director Xu says 50 years after the Chinese Civil War ended, the Ministry of National Defense still doesn't know exactly how many Taiwanese soldiers had died. TITV Weekly.